Why is it that the left has been so successful, at least at the ballot box, in terms of getting more of those of Hispanic descent to vote for Democrats, to vote for liberals?
The left sees Hispanics and immigrants in general as agents of change. In the words of Barack Obama, candidate Barack Obama, they want to fundamentally transform the United States of America.
How can conservatives break the liberal monopoly on Hispanic Americans? We're here to talk about that is the senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation, Mike Gonzalez. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Genevieve. How are you?
I'm doing well. Mike, you're the author of a new book called A Race for the Future, and it's all about this topic. First question I want to ask you, though, is what is the biggest misunderstanding most Americans have about who Hispanics are and their role in this country?
With Hispanics in the 1970s, the federal government, for the first time, draws a line and says, you're different from all these other new waves of immigrants that came before you. You're going to need federal help in determining your role in society, your participation in the labor force.
And the way they did that was they gave them, or made them, I should say, a minority class. Is that right?
That's right, yes. There were several laws that were passed. 4 minority groups were invented out of whole cloth in the 1970s. One, African Americans. Then Hispanics, they conglomerated a lot of different nationalities, a lot of different groups into one catch-all phrase, Hispanics. They did the same thing with Asian Americans. And then you have Indian Americans, Native Americans. So these 4 minority groups are formed and are given these rights, are protected, are given protection.
And I think the point you make here is important because I think, if people think about it, they understand it. But that Puerto Ricans came here for different reasons than people coming from Cuba. And people coming from Mexico maybe have different reasons for coming here than people from Honduras. So they're not all the same, yet they're all put together as Hispanics.
In fact, it's very different groups. Puerto Ricans are born in a U.S. state with an asterisk. They cannot vote in Puerto Rico, but once they come here, the day they move here, they can vote for president. Mexicans are in many ways the oldest group. They have been, some of them have been here since before the 1840s, since these territories were incorporated into the Union with the end of the Mexican War, with Texas's accession to the Union. Cubans begin to come in the 1950s, really in big numbers after the Communist Revolution. So these are very different people. They don't look the same, different groups, and yet the federal bureaucracy can deal with this and groups them all for the express purpose of affirmative action, and that's the problem. If you look at the legislation in the 1970s, it says it very clearly. They're grouped this way so they can be given affirmative action, and this is bad not just for the country but for the groups themselves, for the people themselves.
And you talk about the fact that let's be clear, the debate we've been having over the last few years has all been about immigration, and primarily has been about the 11 million or however many exactly illegal immigrants we have living in this country, primarily that are of Hispanic descent, right, Mexican and the like. But you say if we only deal with that issue, we're missing the much bigger picture.
That's right. We need to concentrate on the 45, 46, 47 million Hispanics who are here legally, who can vote, who are Americans, or who can become American, and figure out a way, stop throwing up roadblocks on the way to their success, to their upward mobility, to their assimilation. Right now, our government, our own institutions, are getting in the way of assimilation, aggressively discouraging assimilation, which is what made the Scots-Irish, the Poles, Jewish Americans, Italians succeed. Sometime in the middle of the 20th century, the American public school decided to stop teaching assimilation, civic values, and all these things, and now it's doing the opposite.
The thing that brought together all these different groups and gave them a shared history in addition to their individual traditions.
That's right. Let's not forget that in the 1910s and 1920s, we already had this fight in America. We had multiculturalists back then who wanted a multinational America, who wanted an America that was a federation of nations, that was polyglot, speaking different languages. The assimilationists won that battle back then. And what that produced was the greatest generation, the generation that won World War II. That you see these World War II movies with the Italian guy from Brooklyn, the Mexican guy from Texas, all coming together as Americans to defeat the common foe. That worked. We need to go back to that.
And one way of getting back to that is the subtitle of your book is how the conservative movement can break the liberal monopoly on all of this.
Right.
Why is it that the left has been so successful, at least at the ballot box, in terms of getting more of those of Hispanic descent to vote for Democrats, to vote for liberals?
The big demographic bulge takes place from the 1960s on when we changed our immigration laws. What is happening at the same time? We have the sexual revolution of the 60s, we have the Great Society, we have the War on Poverty programs. There's this revolution of cultures and values. These new immigrants have no memory of what the country had been like before. When they assimilate, they're beginning to assimilate to the new values they encounter as they come in here in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Conservatives were shut out of the knowledge-making institutions, the media, Hollywood. The left has this monopoly. Plus, the left sees Hispanics and immigrants in general as agents of change. In the words of Barack Obama, candidate Barack Obama, they want to fundamentally transform the United States of America, and they see Hispanics as agents of change. What we conservatives need to do is we need to act right now. That's what the title of my book is, A Race for the Future. We need to engage in that and make Hispanics agents for conserving American values and America's traditions.
So it sounds like what you're saying to me is conservatives need to be more proactive about going into Hispanic communities and really laying the vision of the kind of America many of these immigrants came here for in the first place, what they thought it was going to be.
Nobody comes here to be balkanized into a minority, to be balkanized into different neighborhoods. They come here to succeed. Why do people come here? Why did my family come here in the early 70s? Because this is a free place. It has a lot of prosperity. This is an ahistorical experiment in people being left alone to succeed. This is why people are attracted to come here. It is really ironic and sad that many progressives want to use people who are coming here seeking that to change the country into something that will be less free and less wealthy.
Mike, it's a great book. It's called A Race for the Future. I really enjoyed reading it. And I don't say that about every book and every author I talk to, but it's got a great history, but really real hard numbers and ideas on what conservatives can do to win more over in the Hispanic community. I encourage you to check it out. The book is out now. You can go to your local bookstore to get it, or you can find it at Amazon.com and a host of other online sites.